What if everything you think you know about building a fulfilling relationship is undermined by a few subtle, repeated errors? Errors that quietly sabotage the very connection you yearn for. Relationships can be a wellspring of joy or a source of deep frustration, and sometimes the difference between the two hinges on small but persistent mistakes that go unnoticed. Yet, in a world overflowing with advice, some of it superficial, some contradictory, how do you separate real insight from mere cliché? Allow me to propose a surprising solution: the timeless wisdom of Stoicism. By viewing your relational challenges through a Stoic lens, you might discover how certain common missteps, often well-intentioned, can derail what could otherwise be a deeply satisfying bond. Now, if you are new here, please like the video and subscribe. Statistics show that only 15% of my audience is subscribed to the channel, so if this content has helped you in any way, I ask you to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Picture this: you've seen friends struggle, or maybe it's happened to you. Sparks fade into distance. Trust erodes with unintentional slights. Communication breaks down under the weight of unexpressed expectations. If we keep repeating the same mistakes without understanding their root, we risk cycling from one disappointment to the next. But here's why you should care. A stable, nurturing relationship isn't just about romance. It's a cornerstone of personal growth, emotional well-being, and even societal contribution. And while many men grasp that they're making mistakes, they can't pinpoint exactly where or why, nor how to change them without losing themselves. That's where Stoicism comes in. More than a historical curiosity, Stoicism offers practical, razor-sharp insights into human interactions. By merging its principles with modern relationship dynamics, we unlock a method of recognizing and correcting the 9 most common mistakes men make. This approach transcends shallow tips. It reshapes how you perceive your partner, your own expectations, and the very purpose of being together. By the end of this conversation, you'll gain tangible steps to address these pitfalls, not by forced tactics, but by refining your character and perspective according to Stoic virtues and logic. Now, why trust what I'm about to share? Because these aren't idle theories. They're drawn from years of absorbing the teachings of Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius, combined with real-world experiences and tested reflections on what truly fosters closeness and respect in a relationship. The wisdom of these ancient thinkers resonates powerfully when we apply it to modern challenges like communication breakdowns, emotional neglect, or clinging to impossible ideals. This guide will break down the 9 mistakes within a cohesive framework, showing you how to prevent or correct them in ways that preserve your authenticity and dignity. Finally, let me outline our roadmap. In this first part, we'll anchor ourselves in the core tenets of Stoic philosophy and see why it applies to relationships so effectively. We'll also begin to unveil the context behind each of the 9 pitfalls, setting the stage for deeper exploration. In the second part, we'll walk through these mistakes in detail, each accompanied by a classic Stoic principle to help you navigate real-life scenarios. By the third and final segment, we'll tie everything together into a practical action plan, ensuring you leave with the clarity and resolve to cultivate a more harmonious and fulfilling bond. If this resonates, let us commence, stepping into a new perspective on love and partnership. One rooted in ancient logic yet perfectly suited to the complexities of modern life. Opening the door to relationship insights. Imagine walking into a quiet study at dusk. Firelight flickers across shelves of worn scrolls and books, and a long wooden table sits at the center. Seated there is an older man, posture upright, eyes steady. An air of calm born from grappling with both life's pains and its potential joys. He beckons you to join him, his voice low yet confident. My friend, many come seeking counsel on matters of the heart, convinced their woes are unique. Yet, time and again, the same lapses emerge. Poor communication, unbalanced expectations, emotional numbness, misguided pride. I, too, once stumbled in these realms until the writings of ancient Stoics revealed a hidden map. These wise men spoke of self-control, virtue, acceptance, and focusing on what lies within our power rather than fretting over what does not. Their approach, though centuries old, cuts through the illusions that hamper relationships today. Now, I will not tell you that Stoicism can solve every conflict or turn a flawed relationship into an unbreakable bond overnight. But I can promise this. If you learn to see your partnership through Stoic eyes, you will recognize pitfalls you were blind to before. And once recognized, they lose much of their power, enabling you to correct course. Indeed, many men, forging a genuine connection, sabotage it unwittingly. Perhaps it is you, or a brother, or a friend you've witnessed. Time withers as daily friction or unchecked assumptions drive a wedge where closeness should bloom. In the pages that follow, I invite you to walk alongside me as we unravel 9 errors that commonly arise. Each error, if left unchecked, can degrade trust, respect, and mutual understanding. Stoicism arms us to tackle them at their core, not merely patch them with quick fixes. We shall see how ignoring your partner's emotional reality leads to mutual alienation, how being enslaved to externals fosters jealousy or anger, how failing to communicate from a place of calm reason tears at the bond you hope to preserve. It will not be a shallow list, mind you. We will delve into each misstep's deeper cause: insecurity, fear, the illusions of control, the obsession with prideful appearances. At each turn, I will highlight a Stoic remedy, be it the dichotomy of control, the virtue of empathy, or the power of daily self-reflection. By integrating these remedies, you not only avoid recurring mistakes, you also discover a more profound sense of partnership, one that fosters both your growth and your partner's well-being. Are you ready to open that door? Then step closer. Let us consider why men, well-intentioned as they might be, drift into common relational pitfalls. And let us see how a Stoic vantage, rooted in calm, reason, and moral integrity, points the way out. If your heart is open, if your mind is poised to absorb a timeless philosophy, then we shall embark together. The path is not always easy, but neither is a lasting relationship. For that reason, they say, no worthy harvest is reaped without consistent care. Let us sow these seeds carefully, guided by Stoic counsel, so you may cultivate a relationship that stands resilient, unwavering in the face of life's storms. With those words, he gestures to a set of manuscripts on the table. One, labeled Foundations of Stoic Thought in Relationships, stands at the top. He taps it gently, signifying that we begin with the baseline: why Stoicism merges so aptly with the quest for a harmonious bond, and how exactly these common mistakes form in its absence. Why Stoicism and Relationships? Setting the philosophical groundwork. It might seem odd to speak of an ancient Roman philosophy in the context of modern love, yet Stoicism's emphasis on virtue, emotional regulation, and focusing on controllable elements resonates deeply with interpersonal dynamics. In relationships, so many issues arise from anxieties, unspoken grievances, pride, or misguided attempts to control what isn't ours to control, namely our partner's reactions or the outcome of every conflict. Stoicism, from Seneca to Epictetus, repeatedly tells us, concentrate on your own judgments, character, and choices. Let the externals be what they will. For men in particular, who sometimes feel societal pressure to lead, provide, or fix every issue, it's easy to slip into these 9 mistakes by trying to micromanage or disclaim emotional nuance. Meanwhile, relationships require empathy and vulnerability, qualities sometimes neglected when men adopt a mistaken notion of strength that denies emotional honesty. Yet, real Stoicism does not ask you to be an emotionless statue. It calls for measured, purposeful feeling, guided by reason. If you must express frustration or set a boundary, you do so calmly, not from reactive anger. If you must comfort your partner or show affection, you do so sincerely, unafraid that kindness compromises your dignity. By balancing reason with empathy, you avoid extremes that hamper open communication. Moreover, Stoicism's moral framework states that the highest good is virtue, wisdom, justice, courage, temperance, and that living in alignment with these fosters personal fulfillment. Applied to relationships, that means you strive to act justly, fairness, respect, speak with wisdom, understanding, clarity, show courage, addressing issues bravely rather than hiding them, and practice temperance, balancing your needs with your partner's. Departing from these virtues typically leads to the mistakes we'll soon discuss. So, once you adopt virtue as a guiding star, you're less likely to let ego, fear, or negligence corrode your bond. One final reason Stoicism proves so apt here is the concept of self-reflection. Ancient Stoics recommended daily introspection, examining your conduct, spotting emotional turbulence, refining your approach. This habit can revolutionize how you handle relationship stumbling blocks. If you find yourself engaging in negative patterns, maybe shutting down emotionally or unleashing criticism in a heated moment, you can, with Stoic reflection, catch that habit sooner, correct it, and approach future interactions more intentionally. Without regular reflection, these harmful patterns remain hidden, repeating themselves to the detriment of intimacy. Previewing the 9 mistakes. Before we delve deeper, let me briefly sketch how these 9 mistakes typically manifest. In the second part of our journey, the next segment, we will detail each mistake, illustrate a scenario, and provide a Stoic remedy. For now, think of this as a teaser, a glimpse of the shadows that might lurk under seemingly minor relational tensions. 1. Emotional neglect. Failing to acknowledge or engage with your partner's emotional landscape, either dismissing it as trivial or too messy. 2. Misguided pride. Stubbornly insisting on being right, letting ego overshadow meaningful understanding. 3. Controlling impulses. Attempting to manage your partner's thoughts or behaviors, ignoring Stoic acceptance of what lies beyond your domain. 4. Inconsistent accountability. Holding your partner to standards you do not hold yourself to, or vice versa, eroding mutual respect. 5. Poor conflict. Handling. Resorting to anger, stonewalling, or blame instead of reasoned dialogue. 6. Silent expectations. Harboring unspoken assumptions or needs, then resenting your partner for not meeting them. 7. Neglect of self-improvement. Letting your personal growth stagnate, assuming once a relationship is secure, no further effort is required. 8. Fearful avoidance, dodging difficult conversations, feedback, or emotional honesty, hoping issues fix themselves. 9. Competing for control, treating the relationship as a power struggle, forgetting it's a partnership seeking shared fulfillment. Each mistake, if allowed to persist, gnaws at the foundation of trust, respect, or open-heartedness. Stoicism teaches that we do not blame our partner for how these issues unfold. We own our part, our judgments, our actions, our moral responsibilities, and address them with calm purpose. By clarifying the Stoic principle relevant to each mistake, we can see how, in daily practice, these pitfalls can be neutralized. But do not misunderstand. Stoicism does not guarantee perpetual harmony, nor does it give you a free pass to remain indifferent when your partner voices needs. Indeed, it demands you show empathy, a form of justice and kindness, while never letting your own sense of self waver under illusions or manipulative dynamics. If your partner, for instance, tries to guilt trip you, Stoicism helps you respond rationally, not defensively or aggressively. If a conflict arises, Stoicism fosters a reasoned approach to communication. In short, these 9 mistakes do not vanish by shallow positivity or conflict avoidance, but by a robust, moral-laden approach that respects your partner's humanity and your own pursuit of virtue. A story to illuminate the path. Allow me to share a personal recollection that underscores how these mistakes might intertwine if not addressed. I once knew a man, call him Vibius, who prided himself on being Stoic, but misunderstood it as emotional detachment. In his marriage, he rarely acknowledged his wife's feelings, labeling them overreactions. He believed that controlling the household finances and decisions unilaterally would ensure stability. Over time, his wife grew distant, resentment festering unspoken. Conflicts brewed, but he either deflected or dismissed them, convinced he knew best. Eventually, the marriage deteriorated into cold politeness, as both walked on eggshells. Only later did Vibius realize how many Stoic ideals he had twisted. Ignoring emotions is not Stoicism. Controlling a partner is not Stoicism. Refusing to communicate is not Stoicism. Real Stoicism would have led him to dialogue from calm empathy, not retreat or domination. By the time he sought counsel, the relationship was strained, though not irreparably. As he slowly learned the true Stoic stance, respecting each person's autonomy, practicing open yet rational conversation, owning one's mistakes, he managed to rebuild aspects of trust. That journey confirmed for him and me how central Stoic truths can be in forging or saving a relationship from ruin. Why share this anecdote? Because many men confuse Stoicism with emotional suppression. In relationships, that confusion can fuel multiple mistakes, from emotional neglect to controlling impulses. True Stoicism is about intentional, virtue-guided action, not numbness. Emotional intelligence, patience, and the willingness to see your partner's perspective do not contradict Stoic discipline. They complement it. Indeed, your orchard of moral growth extends to how you treat loved ones, not just how you handle adversity. If you fail to exercise reasoned empathy or justice at home, no Stoic principle can truly flourish. The road ahead in parts 2 and 3. In the next section, we will delve into each of the 9 mistakes. Expect a structured approach. For each mistake, I'll illustrate a scenario that shows how it might manifest, then align it with a Stoic principle. like the dichotomy of control, daily self-reflection, moral virtue, or rational communication, that offers a remedy. We'll see how small behavioral changes can yield massive improvements in mutual understanding and affection. Then, in our final segment, Part 3, we'll provide a comprehensive blueprint for applying these Stoic insights consistently over time, protecting your relationship from backsliding into old patterns, even as new stresses or phases of life arise. But for now, recognize that these mistakes are not burdens to be ashamed of, but signals of where Stoic transformation can occur. Each one is an opportunity for deeper self-knowledge and moral refinement. If you sense any of these mistakes in your own conduct, do not despair or lash yourself with guilt. The Stoic approach is measured acceptance of imperfection followed by constructive steps to improve. The orchard can be pruned and fertilized at any stage. It is never too late to nourish the roots of empathy, justice, courage, and open-hearted communication. Embrace this perspective, and let us proceed with confidence. Embracing the next step. Now, my friend, pause and reflect. Do you sense any of the mistakes we teased? Emotional distance, controlling tendencies, silent expectations, lurking in your own relationship or in your past experiences? Do you wonder how a Stoic vantage might resolve tensions you currently face? If so, hold that curiosity close. Let it guide you as we dive deeper in Part 2, unveiling the precise nature of these pitfalls and equipping you with Stoic tools to address them. This is a path not of condemnation, but of liberation, freeing you from patterns that hamper intimacy and synergy with the person you hold dear. Remember, a relationship well tended can mirror the orchard metaphor. Each day's patient effort ensures the trees bear sweet fruit. Neglect or repeated mistakes spoil the harvest, leaving bitterness or emptiness in their wake. By applying Stoicism's steadfastness, you can avert such ruin, instead forging a bond that respects both your individuality and your shared life. With that vision in mind, we stand poised at the threshold, ready to name these 9 relationship missteps explicitly, to unravel their Stoic countermeasures, and to open the path to an enduring, flourishing partnership. Let us step forward now, resolute in our quest, as the elders' words echo. Guard your orchard from illusions and vices. In love, as in all things, Stoic virtue is your shield. What if, even after recognizing that certain patterns might be eroding the harmony in your relationship, you still can't quite see where or how they manifest in everyday life? That's the crux many face when they know something's off, yet can't put a name to it. The stakes are considerable. Left unchecked, these patterns can stifle genuine connection, breed resentment, and ultimately weaken the foundation you've worked so hard to build. But here's the hope. By identifying these 9 common mistakes and applying a Stoic perspective to each, you can dismantle their power over you. By the end of this segment, you won't just know what these pitfalls are. You'll understand exactly how Stoic principles transform them from insidious threats into opportunities for a stronger bond. Why does that matter? Because relationships aren't static. They thrive or wither based on how we show up each day, especially under stress or misunderstandings. If you keep stumbling over the same issues, emotional distance, stubborn pride, or neglected communication, no amount of surface fixes will produce lasting change. You need a deeper recalibration, one rooted in a robust worldview like Stoicism. It's not about memorizing tips and tricks. It's about reshaping how you perceive and handle the rich complexities of shared life. This second part, is where we unmask each misstep, illustrate it with relatable scenarios, and pair it with a Stoic antidote. So, if you're ready to see clearly and act decisively, let's continue down this corridor, where the 9 pitfalls await, and discover how Stoic wisdom lifts you above them. Naming the 9 mistakes, picture yourself again in that serene, book-lined room, seated at the table with the elder Stoic. A warm lamplight flickers, revealing a handful of parchment scrolls arrayed before him, each labeled with a different pitfall. His voice resonates with calm intensity. My friend, in the last conversation, we laid a foundation. Why Stoic philosophy, with its emphasis on virtue and rational self-command, is a potent lens for understanding the behaviors that corrode relationships. Now, let me name these 9 common mistakes outright, so we can grapple with them one by one, weaving in Stoic remedies. You'll notice each arises from well-intentioned impulses, like wanting stability or fairness, yet spirals into dysfunction when misapplied. If you spot your own tendencies in these descriptions, do not be dismayed. Stoicism doesn't condemn human flaws. It invites careful reflection and improvement. So, let us begin. He lifts the first scroll, unrolling it carefully. 1. Emotional neglect what it looks like. You dismiss or downplay your partner's emotional life, labeling it overdramatic, inconvenient, or secondary to practical concerns. You rarely ask how they feel, seldom offer a listening ear, and respond with impatience if they express needs. Over time, your partner withdraws emotionally, feeling unseen or disregarded. Why it happens? Some men conflate Stoic calm with detachment, believing that strong emotions are unimportant or distract from logic. Alternatively, you might fear being drawn into emotional territory you don't know how to navigate, so you avoid it altogether. Stoic insight. True Stoicism doesn't deny emotions. It encourages measured empathy. Marcus Aurelius wrote about understanding others' pains and not scorning them. Recognize your partner's emotional expressions as part of their human experience, no less valid than your perspective. The dichotomy of control reminds you that while you can't fix their feelings, you can control your own willingness to engage with care. A Stoic approach would have you calmly listen, acknowledging their emotional reality without losing your own balance. Over time, that fosters trust and closeness. Practical response. Practice micro check-ins. Daily or weekly, ask your partner how they're feeling and listen without judgment. Resist the urge to solve their emotional state. Simply be present and show empathy. If you feel discomfort rising, label it internally. I'm uneasy because I fear I can't solve this. Then recall that Stoics often serve by simply understanding. Gradually, you'll learn that acknowledging emotions doesn't compromise your composure. It enriches mutual respect. 2. Misguided pride. What it looks like. You cling to the need to be right, refusing to admit mistakes or weaknesses in an argument. Ego dominates, so you engage in defensive posturing rather than understanding. Even minor disputes escalate because you insist on victory over resolution. Why it happens? For some men, pride is tied to identity. Admitting error feels like a threat to self-worth. Or you might have grown up equating leadership with never showing doubt. The result is a standoffish attitude that alienates a partner who craves genuine dialogue, not a debate you must win. Stoic insight. Pride, when rooted in false ideas, is a hindrance to virtue. Epictetus urged humility. recognizing that we are all learners, prone to errors. If your partner's view highlights a shortfall in your behavior, Stoic courage says you address it openly rather than hide behind pride. A true Stoic stands taller by owning up to missteps, thus preserving integrity. Practical response. During conflict, notice that inner voice demanding you defend your stance at all costs. Pause. Remind yourself that a Stoic invests in truth, not ego. Practice saying, "I see your point. I hadn't considered that." Or, "I was wrong there. Thanks for clarifying." Watch how the tension diffuses when you let go of the need to be infallible. Over time, such admissions strengthen trust, revealing a balanced confidence that's more compelling than rigid pride. 3. Controlling impulses, what it looks like. You micromanage your partner's choices, criticizing how they spend money, who they socialize with, or how they handle tasks. It could be subtle, repeated suggestions that undermine their autonomy. The partner senses a loss of freedom, breeding resentment or secrecy. Why it happens. A misconception of masculinity as in control, or anxiety that compels you to shape every outcome. You forget Stoic teachings that each person controls their own mind and actions, not yours to command. Stoic insight. The essence of Stoic acceptance is acknowledging that you cannot and should not control another's will. Attempting it creates friction and violates the principle of focusing on your own domain, your judgments, your virtue. As Seneca put it, you stoke needless conflict by meddling in another's sphere. Practical response. Whenever you feel that urge to direct or correct your partner's choices, question whether it truly concerns your domain or if you're imposing your preference. If it's a shared matter, like joint finances, approach with mutual problem-solving rather than unilateral edicts. If it's personal to them alone, Stoic discipline says let them steer their course. If you can't reconcile their decision, calmly communicate your stance, but let them own their outcome. Paradoxically, this fosters mutual respect and fosters an environment of genuine cooperation rather than forced obedience. 4. Inconsistent accountability, what it looks like. You hold your partner to high standards, criticizing them for small lapses, yet excuse your own mistakes or laziness, expecting them to understand. Over time, your partner sees the double standard and grows resentful of unfair blame or hypocrisy. Why it happens. It's easy to spot others' flaws while rationalizing our own behavior. Ego plus selective attention can blind us, letting us scapegoat our partner when issues arise but giving ourselves a free pass. Stoic insight. Justice, treating others equitably, is a cornerstone of Stoicism. If you demand accountability from your partner but refuse self-examination, you violate that virtue. Marcus Aurelius repeatedly warned against hypocrisy. The Stoic approach: measure yourself by the same criteria. Instead of blaming your partner for chores undone, ask if you've done your part. When a problem arises, Stoic reflection starts with, have I contributed to this? Practical response. In conflicts, first do a self-check. Is my partner's shortcoming any worse than my own lapses? If you discover you too are flawed in that area, own it. When critiquing your partner, be sure you're upholding the same standard in your behavior. Over time, consistent fairness builds trust, ensuring your partner doesn't feel singled out. And if your partner gently calls you out, a Stoic thanks them for the insight rather than dismissing it. 5. Poor conflict handling, what it looks like. Arguments escalate quickly, You might resort to yelling, stonewalling, or blaming. You fear vulnerability or calmly explaining your viewpoint, so you fight to win or retreat altogether. The partner, feeling unheard or attacked, withdraws or counters with equal force. Why it happens? In moments of tension, emotional surges override reason. If your sense of self is threatened, you defend impulsively, ignoring Stoic composure. Lacking a method for calm dialogue, you replicate the drama you see in movies or your upbringing. Stoic insight. Anger, from a Stoic perspective, clouds judgment, leading to destructive outcomes. If conflict arises, you can handle it rationally by seeking to understand the root issue, focusing on solutions. The dichotomy of control says you can't ensure your partner's reaction, but you can express yourself with patience and clarity. Keep your virtue, moderation, respect, and honesty intact. Practical response. Implement a pause rule. If conflict flares, take a moment, a few breaths, a brief walk before speaking. This Stoic gap breaks the cycle of reactivity. Then articulate your concerns with I statements, focusing on what you feel or observe. Invite your partner's input, truly listening. If you sense anger stirring, recall that Stoics see anger as a self-inflicted poison. Contain it by returning to objective facts and shared goals. Over time, conflict shifts from destructive clashes to constructive problem-solving. 6. Silent expectations. What it looks like. You hold unwritten rules about how your partner should behave, like how they must show affection or manage the household, yet never discuss these rules openly. You grow resentful when they fail to guess what you want. Why it happens. Sometimes men assume certain norms are universal, or that if she loves me, she'd know. This fosters unmet needs and confusion, as your partner is forced to guess. The relationship suffers from unvoiced assumptions. Stoic insight. Clarity fosters harmony, illusions breed conflict. Stoics emphasize reasoned communication over passive assumption. If you expect something crucial, state it. It's not Stoic to brood silently, hoping your partner magically aligns. By acknowledging your desires calmly, you also remain open to your partner's feedback, perhaps adjusting or compromising in line with mutual respect. Practical response. Periodically check in with your partner about tasks, emotional support, or future plans. If you notice frustration building over something they didn't do, ask yourself if you ever clearly expressed that preference. The Stoic approach is to remove guesswork. If an expectation is negotiable, Stoics encourage you to weigh it rationally with your partner. If it's non-negotiable, calmly articulate why, allowing them to understand your boundary instead of stumbling into it unknowingly. 7. Neglect of self-improvement. What it looks like. After winning your partner's affection or settling into a routine, you let your personal growth stagnate. You skip mental or physical upkeep, lose the curiosity to learn, or slump into comfort. Over time, your partner sees you less engaged with life, draining the dynamism that first drew them in. Why it happens. Many men, once they feel a relationship is secure, focus on external achievements or drift into complacency, rather than continuing self-cultivation. They assume the relationship will stay fulfilling regardless of personal inertia. Stoic insight. Growth is continuous. The orchard needs watering in every season. A Stoic recognizes that virtue and skill are never final. They must be nurtured. If you disregard your own evolution, you stagnate mentally, emotionally, physically, and that inevitably spills into your bond. Partners often crave seeing you alive with passion or moral purpose, Practical response. Maintain a Stoic practice of self-reflection, setting personal goals, be it reading, a fitness routine, or a new skill. Align them with your sense of virtue or service. This synergy fosters an attractive, grounded presence. Your partner sees you not as a complacent figure, but as a dynamic individual with renewed insights to share. In turn, the relationship thrives on mutual inspiration rather than stale comfort. You have now reached the halfway mark of the video. I congratulate you for trying to become a better version of yourself, and I also humbly ask you to leave a comment, as it helps my channel immensely. If you do not know what to comment, just write "better" every day, so I know you reached this far. And don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Also, I've linked some books on Stoicism that helped me become the man I am today, and will also help you achieve a Stoic mindset. 8. Fearful avoidance. What it looks like. You sense an issue brewing, maybe emotional distance or recurring conflict, but instead of addressing it, you dodge. You busy yourself with work or superficial tasks, hoping it resolves on its own. The partner feels ignored. Tension builds. Communication shrinks. Why it happens. Confrontation can be nerve-wracking, triggering worry about backlash or vulnerability. Some men equate conflict with failure, so they shy away. They might see Stoic calm as just keep quiet, but that's a misunderstanding. True Stoics handle difficulties head-on, not by ignoring them. Stoic insight. Courage is among the cardinal Stoic virtues. Real fortitude lies not in burying problems, but in calmly, openly, and respectfully addressing them. If you avoid issues out of fear, you let illusions shape your life. Remember, Stoics accept that discomfort is part of growth. By facing relational issues with composure, you prevent them from festering into bigger rifts. Practical response. When you notice a concern or sense your partner's dissatisfaction, schedule a conversation promptly. Enter that dialogue with a Stoic mindset, steady, willing to listen, not seeking to control the outcome. Express your observations. I sense something's off. Let's talk. And remain open to your partner's perspective. This active approach signals you value the relationship enough to confront tension rather than hide, fostering deeper trust over time. 9. Competing for control, what it looks like. You treat disagreements or decisions as a power struggle. Who calls the shots? Who wins? Instead of collaboration, your relationship becomes a silent tug-of-war, with each side jockeying to maintain dominance. Why it happens. Some men interpret leadership or masculinity as exerting authority, while ignoring that a relationship is a shared space. Or your partner might similarly vie for control, creating an endless standoff. The result is bitterness, lacking the synergy you both hoped for. Stoic insight. Stoics define strength as mastery over self, not over another. Attempting to dominate your partner is wasted effort. You can't truly control them anyway, only your choices. The Stoic approach is to see your relationship as a cooperative path toward mutual flourishing. If decisions must be made, you weigh reason and fairness, not mere ego or who's on top. Practical response. In any joint decision, finances, household management, future plans, invite your partner's input genuinely. Outline your viewpoint, but listen to theirs without imposing. If disagreement arises, you propose a reasoned compromise or systematically evaluate pros and cons. The orchard of your relationship grows lush when both can contribute without overshadowing the other. This fosters mutual respect, far more robust than the fleeting satisfaction of winning, reflecting on these mistakes, preparing for Stoic remedies. Now that you've encountered all 9 pitfalls, how do you feel? Perhaps you recognize a few in your own conduct, or sense them as latent tendencies. Remember, Stoicism isn't about piling guilt. It's about seeing clearly and adapting. Each error reveals a spot where illusions, whether about power, comfort, or external validation, hinder genuine partnership. The Stoic stance is to greet such realizations calmly. Yes, I see a pattern of controlling impulses or silent expectations. Time to address it. This acceptance is the gateway to meaningful change. In the final part of our conversation, we'll assemble the Stoic remedies, practical strategies, daily reflections, and mindful dialogues tailored to each mistake. By applying them consistently, you realign with virtue and reason, dissolving the friction these pitfalls generate. Your partner, in turn, might notice an uplifting shift. He's more attentive, less defensive, more open to shared solutions. Over weeks or months, these changes can yield a more harmonious dynamic, where misunderstandings get tackled sooner, empathy flows more freely, and mutual growth becomes the shared pursuit. Keep in mind, though, no Stoic principle can force your partner to reciprocate if they remain unyielding. You control only your own actions and attitudes, but often your improved stance paves the way for a healthier response. And if not, Stoicism still ensures you maintain peace of conscience, having done your part with sincerity and clarity. If the orchard faces external storms, you still uphold your caretaker's duty with dignity. You cannot guarantee results, but you can guarantee moral alignment. That alone is a profoundly stabilizing force in relationships. As we end this second segment, reflect on the 9 errors we've detailed. Which resonate most with you? What echoes in your memory of past or current tensions? Now that you can name these pitfalls and sense how they corrode relational harmony, you're one step closer to preventing or reversing them. In our final portion, we'll unify these insights into a cohesive Stoic game plan, showing how daily rituals, mindset tweaks, and open communication can transform your bond. If you commit to these Stoic approaches, you'll gain far more than conflict avoidance. You'll forge a deeper, more authentic connection that fosters both your growth and your partner's well-being. Ready yourself, then, for the culminating chapter, where we stitch these threads into a living tapestry of Stoic relational wisdom. The orchard awaits your steady hand. What if, after uncovering the 9 common mistakes that so often undermine relationships, and after recognizing the Stoic insights that illuminate these pitfalls, you found yourself still craving a structured path, a way to truly embed these lessons into day-to-day life and watch your connection grow deeper? Because while new realizations can spark immediate change, sustaining that change demands a clear, enduring framework. A fleeting improvement might look promising, but only a consistent approach, tied to the bedrock of Stoic virtue, can keep you from sliding back into old habits. And that, precisely, is the purpose of this final conversation: to hand you a cohesive Stoic blueprint for nurturing a relationship resilient against negativity, fear, or petty conflict. The stakes couldn't be higher. You've journeyed through the essential concepts, embraced the reality that pride, controlling impulses, and silent expectations, among others, can poison intimacy. You've seen how Stoicism offers vantage points to correct these patterns. But without a defined method to anchor these insights, you risk reversion. A stressful week, an unresolved tension, and suddenly the same mistakes re-emerge. That's why you must forge a daily, weekly, and monthly rhythm that keeps Stoic principles alive in your bond. By the end of this final installment, you'll have precisely that: a practical system for living out the virtues of self-awareness, justice, empathy, and measured communication. You'll see how to prevent small lapses from spiraling into full-blown relational decay, how to refine your behaviors incrementally, and how to keep the flame of mutual respect burning bright through all the seasons of partnership. Why trust this concluding guidance? Because it weaves centuries of Stoic wisdom with real-world relational experience, ensuring that each step is both philosophically sound and pragmatically viable. No single conversation or technique can fix all relationship woes. But a well-integrated approach, where you habitually apply Stoic reflection, daily check-ins, and open communication, can transform your dynamic from fragile to thriving. In these final pages, we'll craft your personal maintenance and growth plan, binding together the 9 pitfalls with the Stoic remedies we've explored. The blueprint you walk away with should feel seamless enough to implement immediately, yet substantial enough to adapt as your life and relationship evolve. Let us proceed then, confident in what you've learned so far, ready to unify it all into a living tapestry of Stoic partnership, a path that respects both your individuality and your shared aspirations, ensuring that love and reason stand hand in hand. Gathering threads: the 9 pitfalls and their Stoic counterparts. Recall that we identified 9 pitfalls men commonly face in relationships. 1. Emotional neglect. 2. Misguided pride. 3. Controlling impulses. 4. Inconsistent accountability. 5. Poor conflict handling. 6. Silent expectations. 7. Neglect of self-improvement. 8. Fearful avoidance. 9. Competing for control. In Part 2, we tied each into a relevant Stoic principle, offering ways to respond more constructively. Now, our task is to stitch these insights into a coherent lifestyle practice, ensuring that as your bond evolves, you remain anchored in Stoic virtue and clarity. Think of it as designing an orchard maintenance schedule, so the seeds you've planted can flourish in through routine care. A daily Stoic ritual for relationship wellness. Morning centering. On waking, you greet the day with a brief vow of awareness and humility. Remind yourself that relationships, like all aspects of life, are subject to impermanence. You do not own your partner, nor can you guarantee perfect harmony. What you can do is show up with empathy, reason, and a readiness to communicate. Some find it helpful to paraphrase Seneca or Marcus Aurelius, something like, "Today, I will meet others with respect, I will not let pride or fear block connection, and I will remain calm even if conflict arises." This sets a calm, Stoic lens before the day's busyness stirs. Moment-to-moment check-ins. Throughout the day, each time you interact with your partner, be it a brief conversation, a shared meal, or a text exchange, carry a subtle mental checkpoint. Am I listening with empathy or letting emotional neglect slip in? Am I letting ego overshadow actual understanding? This micro-habit ensures you catch potential mistakes before they escalate. If you sense a controlling impulse rising, you mentally reaffirm the Stoic principle of focusing on your domain alone. Or, if you see tension brewing, you recall that avoiding conflict out of fear only deepens problems. Over time, these quick mental prompts become second nature. Evening reflection. As day fades, spend a few quiet minutes reviewing your relational behaviors. Did you handle disagreements calmly? Or did you revert to old patterns like shutting down or insisting on being right? Did you openly communicate your expectations, or let them remain silent? Don't judge yourself harshly. Adopt the Stoic posture of calm observation. If you spot a lapse, identify the cause. Was it insecurity, anger, or exhaustion? Then plan how to respond differently next time. This daily reflection cements continuous improvement, ensuring small missteps don't accumulate into major rifts. This tri-layered approach, morning vow, moment-to-moment vigilance, and evening reflection, lays the scaffold for Stoic relational discipline. But we can deepen it further, addressing the complexities that arise when trying to sustain these habits long-term. Handling the unique pressures of sustained bonds. In early relationship stages, excitement might mask these 9 errors. Over time, however, as routine sets in or children arrive, everyday stress can intensify them. One common worry: will I maintain Stoic empathy if parenting duties exhaust me, or if financial strains weigh on us? Stoicism answers with its principle of consistent virtue. You do not wait for perfect conditions to be just or empathetic. Instead, you adapt your boundaries and mindful practices so they fit your new reality. Perhaps more responsibilities require sharper communication about schedules, so neither partner feels overlooked. Or, if tension rises during late-night childcare, the Stoic calm you've cultivated helps you avoid outbursts or silent blame. Remember, consistent small efforts. If each day you manage a brief reconnection, a simple "how are you feeling?" or "any concerns we need to address," you keep emotional neglect at bay. If you find your partner's choices under stress triggering your controlling impulses, you step back. Recall that each adult remains an autonomous being. Instead, you collaborate on solutions. The orchard analogy holds. You water, prune, and weed in small ways daily, preventing major overgrowth or decay. Over months, that fosters a robust synergy even under life's heavier loads. Clarifying shared values and visions. Another dimension that cements Stoic principles in relationships is clarifying shared values. If your relationship lacks a mutual sense of purpose, beyond just day-to-day logistics, these 9 mistakes gain a foothold. People clash on small details because they haven't aligned on the bigger picture. Stoicism urges you to define moral and existential priorities. For instance, do you both believe in personal growth, open communication, and fairness? If so, remind each other of these values whenever conflict looms. It's easier to handle misguided pride or poor conflict if you both know you're aiming for a more virtuous partnership, not a victory or short-term gain. Some couples hold an intentional conversation once a month. How are we living up to our ideals as partners? Are we drifting? They discuss expansions or shifts in their personal and joint goals, checking alignment. This practice, reminiscent of Stoic reflection, keeps the orchard's map in front of you, so neither wanders off course. If you discover divergence in certain values, Stoic candor encourages you to address it openly, rather than letting resentment fester. By forging a sturdy framework of shared purpose, common mistakes lose their typical hold. You both see them as distractions from the real mission of mutual growth and respect. Advanced Stoic communication tactics. Often, men realize they want to break the cycle of silent expectations or misguided pride, but still lack the communication tools. Stoicism suggests several advanced tactics. 1. Rational empathy. Balancing empathy with reason, you might say, I hear your feelings and I value them. Let's see how we can address this together. You neither dismiss their emotion nor let it overshadow logical problem solving. That invites your partner to feel heard while staying solution-focused. 2. Gentle inquiry. If you sense your partner is upset but reluctant to speak, the Stoic approach is a calm, open invitation. I notice something might be bothering you. Can we talk about it? You do not demand an answer or retreat out of fear. Instead, you hold space for them to express themselves. This preempts silent expectations from both sides. 3. Non-defensive apology. In moments when you slip into controlling impulses or poor conflict handling, Stoic humility guides you to apologize without justifying your mistake. You own your action. I realize I spoke harshly. I was wrong to do so. I'm working on better approaches. This fosters genuine reconciliation, demonstrating sincerity. The orchard grows strong roots when each partner sees the other practicing accountability. 4th, time-limited conflict. If arguments escalate, you propose a Stoic cool-off, each stepping away to reflect. Then reconvene for rational dialogue. This ensures anger or pride doesn't run the show. Over time, conflicts become less about emotional outbursts and more about clarifying differing viewpoints. By weaving these strategies into your daily or weekly routine, the synergy with Stoic virtues, wisdom, justice, courage, temperance, strengthens your communication's integrity. Neglect them, and you slip back into old mistakes. Practice them consistently, and your relationship evolves into a space where each challenge is an occasion for shared growth rather than a wedge dividing you. Recovering from setbacks and relapse. No matter how diligent you are, slip-ups happen. You might revert to controlling impulses during a stressful situation or revert to silent expectations for fear of conflict. Stoicism readies you for these relapses by normalizing imperfection. The orchard does not remain pristine every single day. Storms or pests may intrude. The question is how quickly you address the damage. When you catch yourself repeating a mistake, respond with immediate reflection. I fell into the old pattern of forcing my perspective or ignoring her emotional cues. Why? Usually, it ties back to fear, pride, or inattention. A Stoic does not indulge self-loathing. Instead, you take corrective action, perhaps apologizing promptly, re-establishing open dialogue, or clarifying the boundary you trespassed. The orchard can bounce back if you intervene early, preventing a small lapse from festering into deeper resentment or disillusionment. This cycle might repeat. Some mistakes are deeply ingrained. Stoicism says that each iteration is another chance to refine your virtue. Over time, your orchard weathers these storms with minimal harm because you never let complacency set in. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, life is a continuous test of our principles. Relationships are a microcosm of that truth, requiring repeated practice of Stoic calm, empathy, and rational confrontation. The gift of shared Stoic practice. An intriguing possibility arises. What if your partner also takes interest in Stoic insights? While it's not essential for them to adopt the philosophy in full, a shared language of virtues and reflection can amplify harmony. You might engage in weekly Stoic check-ins, where you each discuss what went well, what mistakes crept in, and how you can support each other's improvement. If tensions arise, you both reference the same framework. Are we letting misguided pride or controlling impulses taint our bond? If your partner is open, that synergy can be powerful, forging a united front against negativity. But if they're not inclined, that's fine. Your Stoic practice still benefits the relationship unilaterally. As you demonstrate consistent growth, your partner might gradually appreciate the difference and become more curious. Aligning relationship goals with moral purpose. Beyond the day-to-day, it's crucial to anchor your relationship in a moral horizon. Stoicism posits that personal integrity and contributing to the well-being of those around you fosters a sense of higher meaning. When you tie your partnership to that sense, cooperating in shared tasks, uplifting each other's pursuits, or collectively serving a broader cause, you create a virtuous cycle. In that environment, letting small mistakes fester seems trivial compared to the bigger mission you share. For example, if you and your partner decide to mentor youths in the community or undertake environmental initiatives, you bond over something transcending mere personal gain. Each Stoic principle, like courage in facing challenges, justice in distributing efforts, or empathy in hearing each other's struggles, becomes tangibly valuable. In turn, the pitfalls of petty conflicts or silent grievances shrink in importance next to your shared moral endeavors. This is not to say external projects alone solve internal issues, but they set a context in which Stoic virtues matter daily, reminding both of you that the relationship thrives when you align with a purpose bigger than private comfort. Creating a 3-part blueprint: daily, weekly, and monthly practices. To ensure all these elements coalesce, consider structuring your Stoic approach over 3 time horizons. This layered schedule ensures ongoing maintenance and deeper exploration. 1. Daily, morning, evening. O morning, quick vow or reflection, reaffirming Stoic virtues and scanning for any relational tensions that might flare. You remind yourself to handle them with honesty and empathy, not ignoring or bulldozing. O evening, a short introspective check. Did I show emotional neglect, controlling impulses, or silent expectations today? How could I improve tomorrow? 2. Weekly. O carve out a small window, perhaps a Sunday evening, to discuss relational health openly if both parties are willing. If your partner is uninterested, you do a solo review, journaling about any patterns noticed. If conflict or friction is brewing, you use this weekly moment to calmly address it before it festers. You might also revisit your shared or personal goals, checking if either of you inadvertently slipped into negative dynamics like misguided pride or poor conflict handling. 3. Monthly. A deeper reflection, possibly combined with your partner if they're receptive. Evaluate your relationship trajectory. Are you noticing repeated friction points? Are your stances on controlling impulses or fear-based avoidance improving? Are you both still aligned on bigger values or new aspirations? If issues persist, you strategize Stoic solutions. Maybe scheduling a respectful talk or practicing new communication skills. This tripartite approach cements your orchard's upkeep, never letting a single issue accumulate unnoticed over months. It also fosters a sense of co-ownership if your partner engages, seeing the relationship as a joint Stoic project. Even if you proceed alone, your calm consistency can gradually influence the relational climate, reducing old triggers by your unwavering stance. Over time, this cyclical system becomes second nature, forming a stable pillar for the entire union. Let me share a final account of a couple, call them Quintus and Amelia, who found themselves in a near constant cycle of bickering and emotional distance. Initially, Quintus felt it was all Amelia's fault, that she demanded too much. Meanwhile, she found him aloof and controlling. They stumbled upon Stoic teachings, partly via an older mentor, and decided to attempt daily check-ins plus a weekly Stoic reflection. Quintus realized he'd been controlling finances from fear, not reason, and had offered minimal space for Amelia to express her ideas. She, in turn, noticed she had silent expectations about daily routines, but never voiced them until frustration boiled over. By steadily applying Stoic virtues, Quintus practiced letting go of micromanaging, focusing on constructive dialogue, while Amelia committed to calmly stating her needs. They stabilized. Conflicts persisted, but they handled them with measured conversation, referencing Stoic guidelines. Over a few months, closeness returned, built on mutual respect. They didn't become a perfect duo overnight, but the orchard grew steadily, each day gleaning lessons from slip-ups. That anecdote underscores that Stoic transformations are incremental, but they endure because they rewire fundamental attitudes, not just surface behaviors. Conclusion: a lasting bond through Stoic principles. As we part ways, consider how these 9 mistakes, once properly understood and addressed with Stoic remedies, can lose their grip on your relationship. You are not helpless before old patterns or tensions. Armed with daily reflection, moral virtue, clear communication, and a sense of accountability, both personal and shared, you can co-create a relationship that fosters genuine growth for both partners. Think of it as a living orchard. You weed out negativity, prune destructive impulses, water the soil of empathy and justice, and admire the blossoms of closeness that emerge. Now, the orchard metaphor is easy to recall, but demands faithful upkeep. Should you let weeks pass without introspection or slip into fear-based avoidance, you might see the old pitfalls creeping back. But if you maintain Stoic vigilance, guided by humility, admitting mistakes, and courage, facing discomfort, your orchard remains vibrant. Each conflict transforms into a chance to practice clarity. Each request for emotional support becomes an occasion for deeper intimacy. Each success is an achievement shared without inflated pride. Let me end with a final reflection from the elder's lips. My friend, your relationship is neither a battlefield to conquer nor a trophy to display, but a dynamic tapestry you weave alongside your partner. Stoicism teaches that your role is to bring honesty, calm, and moral fortitude to this shared fabric. The 9 mistakes we named — emotional neglect, pride, control, inconsistent accountability, poor conflict handling, silent expectations, neglect of self-improvement, fearful avoidance, and competing for dominance — are threads that can unravel that tapestry if left unchecked. But with mindful daily practice, anchored in Stoic virtues, you can replace these weak threads with stronger ones. Empathy, humility, respect, fairness, open dialogue, clear expectations, ongoing self-growth, courage, and cooperative partnership. Over time, your tapestry becomes resilient, more beautiful, a testament to what Stoic devotion can achieve in love. Thus, do not shy from the labor required. Each day, reaffirm your vow to keep illusions at bay, to respect each other's autonomy, and to share your hearts through measured honesty. Gradually, you'll find that the orchard of your union stands sturdy against storms, flourishing in mutual fulfillment beyond anything fleeting passion alone could provide. In your hands now lies the power to enact these Stoic truths. no external force can do it for you. If you want to avoid or reverse those 9 mistakes, let these principles guide your routine. Let them shape how you listen, speak, respond, and reflect each day. Keep your orchard's well-being central, and do not let small lapses erode your dedication. Over time, the synergy of your efforts and your partner's willingness can blossom into a bond that honors both your individuality and the profound unity you share. May that orchard thrive, and may Stoic wisdom be the gentle but firm compass steering you away from the pitfalls we've uncovered. It's a lifelong journey, one that can bring immeasurable richness and an enduring sense of partnership, forged by virtue, reason, and heartfelt care. Now, if any part of this message has been helpful to you, leave us your like and comment, helping the algorithm recommend it to someone who needs it at this time. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss new videos. And if you look through the videos we've already uploaded, you're sure to find something to take with you. Have a good day.